Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football, and we're talking Lukaku again. I'm tempted to use the word disgrace, but I don't know whether I'm qualified to do it because I'm not a Chelsea fan. We've had comments from Tuchel this morning saying he doesn't like it. Apparently this interview with Lukaku was from a month ago and it's all been released now. It is disgraceful, and the thing is, I'd rather Chelsea won the league over Liverpool and Man City. As a United fan, I don't want Liverpool to win it. I don't want Man City to win it. So I'd rather Chelsea won the league. I think I predicted that Lukaku would be Golden Boot winner. And I'm disgusted in him as a footballer. I mean, look, I watch a lot of non-United football on this channel, and I'm sure a lot of you watch teams other than your own team because you love football. And these sort of comments from a player like Lukaku or a Haaland or a Pogba or whoever, or a Ronaldo, if it was Ronaldo, concern me because football, the structure of football for me is the football clubs are the power. You know, the Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds, not the people who own them. I know money's taken over there, but throughout my whole life, football has been about the teams, the Panini sticker books. It was the teams and getting the players for the teams. I'm not Player FC, and I think people have laughed about this recently, but it's actually happening more and more. Players are becoming more powerful than the clubs, and it might be that in 10 years' time, that is the case. And I think it'll be a very big shame. And I think people like Mino Raiola have a touch point on this because he basically wants to move his player every 3 years and make more money and make the player the brand and not the club. And I think we're seeing evidence of that again with Lukaku. He's not totally to blame for that. There's lots of other players like that. But players getting above their station. Romelu Lukaku, whether he's Everton, Manchester United, Inter Milan, Chelsea, he is a striker that can score. He's a good penalty box striker. I mean, to be fair, he's a very good penalty box striker. His first touch leaves a lot to be desired. He's not one of the greatest strikers ever. He plays in a time where he's probably quite fortunate, because if he was playing at a time when you had the Shearers, the Batistutas, people like that, he wouldn't even be in the top 5 or considered to be in the top 5. So he's in a fortuitous position where he's considered one of the world's best strikers. But the disrespect he's shown to Chelsea, and more importantly Chelsea fans, is not nice. And ultimately, the way I read this is that if I was an Inter Milan fan, which I'm not, I wouldn't swallow the crap that Lukaku's feeding you. I love Inter Milan. I always look for their results. I'm them on FIFA. Oh, I'd love to play with Lautaro Martinez, but not at Chelsea back in Italy. Oh, I'd have stayed there if they'd have offered me the money. Pretty sure in the summer he shit on Inter to go to Chelsea, his childhood club. And the way I read this is the modern, up their own arse, out of touch footballer. There's some at United, there's some at Chelsea, there's some at most clubs. They're so out of touch. They put a tweet out, they get loads of replies, and they think they're gods. And they actually think they can sit there and spoon you shit and you will swallow it. The reality is, the way I read this is, and the reason if I was an Inter Milan fan, I wouldn't trust it one bit. But Inter Milan fans will trust it because fans do trust it. If you come out and kiss the badge and say you love that club, if Kimmich came out tomorrow and said, I've always loved Manchester United, I wear Manchester United boxer shorts, I love Sir Alex Ferguson, we'd all be like, get him, he's a legend, because we're very easy to manipulate, and that's probably our own faults. But the way I see it with Lukaku is he's come to Chelsea. That was his dream move. The club he supported since a kid. He wants to win a Premier League title. He's come to Chelsea. He doesn't like the system. He doesn't like the fact that Chelsea play a system that's based on team ethic and not all about getting Lukaku the ball to score goals. He doesn't like it. Doesn't really like playing for Chelsea. Liked it more at Inter Milan. Wants to go back to Inter Milan. It's the Alexis Sanchez thing that we had when he left Arsenal. Come to Manchester United. Didn't like it from day one, despite the fact that we made him the best paid player in Premier League history. Well, I don't like this. I don't like this. And it feels that that's the same with Lukaku. Don't like the way Chelsea play football. Having to work too hard, too difficult, doesn't suit me. I want to go back to Inter. But in the summer, Chelsea come along. Oh, I couldn't turn it down. It's my dream. It's so shallow. There's no water in it. It's like diving into a pool with no water in it. It's just a big headache. And I feel for Chelsea fans, not a Chelsea fan, but I think this is something that I feel for Chelsea fans because I can imagine it happening at Manchester United. I can imagine it happening at Arsenal. I can imagine it happening at other clubs. These players manipulate fans to, grow their own brand and then will shit on you to go back to another set of fans because football's tribal. And as long as Lukaku can get himself back to Inter Milan and Inter Milan fans love him, why would he care about Chelsea fans if he's left because he doesn't like it anymore? So Look, maybe I'm reading it completely wrong, but but I don't really care if I'm reading it completely wrong, because if you sit down and do an interview and say some of the things we've just been speaking about now, then it's open for interpretation. If you keep your gob shut and act professionally, then it's not open for interpretation. And actually, before I speak about Lukaku, I'll speak about somebody actually I do respect, who I think does have the fundamentals of what football's all about, and that's Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel, who has said that Lukaku's comments have brought noise that we don't need. And considering he's just lost Ben Chilwell to a season-ending injury, Reece James to an injury, they've had loads of problems with Lukaku now. You know, they wanted to be in a title race this year. They're the champions of Europe, and he's got a load of problems that no manager can predict or deal with. Or prepare for, season-ending injuries, COVID, things like that. And he's now got a manager, his star signing, who has basically thrown his toys out the pram at a pivotal point in the season. You'd be bloody fuming. Chelsea do not need that noise at the moment. They need everyone to be together, working hard together. And you've got an individualistic striker who wants you to change the way you play football. Change the way you played football that won you the Champions League to accommodate him. The arrogance of it is ridiculous, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Tuchel says, I don't like it. To be honest, I don't like it because it's noise we don't need. We need a calm environment and focus, and it does not help. I don't feel him unhappy. I feel the exact opposite. If you asked me yesterday morning, I would say that he's absolutely fine. That's why it's a surprise, but I am the wrong person to ask. We can take the time to try and understand what's going on, because it does not reflect the daily work, the daily attitude, the daily behaviour that Romelu shows. And he said... Obviously, we know that Lukaku had said that he was not happy with the situation. So, what you get from Tuchel there is that he's been blindsided. He's dealing with major issues around his squad being depleted. And on the face of it, he thinks Lukaku's fine. And yet Lukaku's done this interview a month ago, and he's not brought any of these issues to his manager. So not only has he thrown his team, his players and his fans under the bus, he's kept quiet about it as well and been cowardly. So, all the traits you don't want in a player. And Chelsea are lumbered with it at a time where they are struggling a little bit. But some of the key points from Lukaku, he said that if there had been a new offer of contract from Inter Milan, as I wanted, we would not be doing this interview. I would be in Milan. And obviously he spoke about Martinez. I think there was another quote. I can't find it. There was another quote that he spoke about that he's working with Tuchel to find a system, a way that suits him more, because he doesn't like, obviously doesn't like the way that they're playing with Chelsea at the moment. Here we go. Look, Tuchel and I are trying to find a tactical system where we can find each other, a way to help the team, because the situation is a bit complicated. He made his choice. I keep working at a certain point. I'll speak with Tuchel and we'll see the situation. So basically, that's the arrogance of the man, basically. Chelsea are champions of Europe, and Lukaku's going to work with the champions of Europe manager to find a solution to make him better. It's just arrogance. To be honest with you, I wouldn't pick him. I wouldn't pick him. But, Abramovich is a very tough owner, and, Tuchel's in a precarious situation, which sounds ridiculous when you're the champions of Europe, but Abramovich did sack the champions of England, Mourinho, after 3 months of a season. So Tuchel could find himself out and Lukaku staying. It depends which way Abramovich goes, and Abramovich won't necessarily listen to Chelsea fans, who, in the main, are pissed off with Lukaku, quite rightly. So you don't know how this situation is going to resolve itself, and I would hope it resolves itself in backing of the manager to do what he wants to do. But player power is starting to become a major issue in football, and I don't like it. I don't like player FC. I don't like players having the power. And we saw it with United. Mourinho needed to be sacked, but players basically, made sure that happened. And Chelsea need to be very, very careful, because they do need Lukaku the footballer. Lukaku the footballer, in and around in the box, was the final piece, which is why I predicted he'd be the Golden Boot scorer, because I look at Chelsea the way they play. I don't understand what Lukaku's problem is, actually, because I look at Chelsea last season, and Timo Werner was missing so many chances in and around the box that a player like Lukaku should bury, and yet Lukaku doesn't like the system. But it's the same system as last year. You're obviously doing something wrong as a striker that you can't get. So maybe we need to put some appreciation on Timo Werner, who was getting himself into the position to score tap-ins but couldn't score them, because Lukaku doesn't like that. He doesn't like a team that was very focused around their striker scoring goals. It's just sour grapes. It's an overinflated ego. We've got some players like this at United who, when the criticism sits firmly on their shoulders, will try and find ways to blame other people. And the way I read the Lukaku situation is he couldn't wait to get out of Inter Milan to come back to Chelsea. And now he's at Chelsea and it's hard. He wants to be at Inter. And Chelsea aren't right for him. And it's just the typical arrogant, self-inflated, egotistical, modern-day footballer who has got no consideration for fans or anything else other than themselves. And he's exposed himself there. And it also exposes a complete and utter out of the box, fresh-faced naivety that they are not in touch with the real world at all and think that they can sit and do an interview and people are going to lap up what they're going to say. I mean, he even goes on to talk about the three big clubs of Bayern, Barcelona and Real Madrid. And he thought he might be going to one of those, but then Chelsea came in. I mean, he's so out of touch. His touch is so bad, it's bounced back 10 years. Like, they're not the biggest clubs in the world, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Barcelona. They wouldn't go anywhere near you, even though they're desperate. But they're not the biggest clubs in the world. The biggest clubs in the world reside in the Premier League. You're playing in the best league in the world. And you're talking about Barcelona, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Now, respect on Bayern Munich, but they play in a league where they could put their reserves out and win it. And Barcelona and Real Madrid are struggling. So, trampoline toes has let himself down big time. And look, one thing I would say is our previous manager, which is what I refer to him now, he's from Norway. He got a lot of things wrong at Manchester United, but there's a couple of things he did in his first few months that he got very right. He got Fellaini out of the club within a month, and he binned off Lukaku within no time. And there was a time where some United fans felt that the previous manager of Manchester United got that wrong. I think he very much got it right. Because if you look back through Lukaku's history, he's always coming out with comments about himself, whether it's on Twitter or what. He's got a very, very inflated ego. And that is something that Chelsea are going to have to deal with. Now, he could go and score 20 goals between now and the end of the season, and Chelsea fans will love him again, because all football fans are flippant. But where he is right now, as an outsider, he's humiliated that football club and the manager and the fans. And he's basically said, I'm only here for the money. So, how he digs a hole out of that, I don't know. If I was the manager, I wouldn't pick him again. But Chelsea need to get top four. Chelsea need to, defend the Champions League. And Lukaku was a major investment that Inter Milan can't afford to buy back anyway. I mean, is he such an idiot that he's talking about Inter Milan, who couldn't afford to keep him, and now he's saying he wants to go back, having just signed for Chelsea for what, 80 million quid? He's an idiot. Like, he's talking about going to Inter Milan, and they couldn't afford to keep him when he was free, let alone spend all that now. It's just crazy. One of the most ill-advised interviews you'll ever see. Anyway, get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.